Let me begin by saying that I am not a parent, not yet, but I have parents, so I feel like I'm qualified to talk about this topic. So, without further ado, let's talk about why I hate gender reveals. I've always kind of been weird about them because I feel that, first of all, I notice in general people are way more excited to have sons and daughters unless they already have a son and then want to like equal it out. But I've kind of like always been a little bit weird towards it. Like I feel a little offended, right? But what triggered me to want to talk about this today is that a few days ago, this guy in Tucson, I guess he's a border patrol agent, he had this gender reveal with some type of FDA approved chemical that explodes, and he shot it at a target that had something in it called tannerite, and it exploded and caused a 45,000 acre fire in Tucson. And it cost the city $8.2 million in damages. So he, I guess, is responsible for $100,000 of it because that's already like so much and he can't afford more. But what is with this gender reveal thing? What is the big deal? You know, the body parts and the anatomy of your kid is just a small, tiny portion of who they are and what they're capable of. So I just feel like having this jumping for joy when it's a boy, or throwing yourself into a pool when it's a girl, or crying your eyes out when it's a girl, it's just so unnecessary. And to me, it's a little bit offensive. Call me sensitive, call me whatever you want. If I see somebody finding out they're having a girl, which is what happened to my parents, and they're like throwing themselves on the floor, or everyone's like sad for them, I'm like, it's just to me, it's tacky, and it just shows the misogyny in the world. These gender reveals are kind of speaking, they're kind of like a symptom of that underlying, well, I'd rather have a son because sons are easier, blah, 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 all those lies that we tell ourselves, right? So I'm gonna get into it a little bit because after I read that article on, it was on New York Times, there was a Snapchat story, and in the Snapchat story, they are showing like over the top gender reveals and gender reveal like fails. So I'll pull it up right now.
She's pregnant! I said she's pregnant! Are you pregnant? Oh my god!
And then in this one, they're so happy that she's pregnant. They're so happy that she's pregnant, which is great. Like I definitely agree with like being happy that someone's pregnant because at this point there's nothing you can do about it, so just be happy. I am one of 3 girls, and then we had a little brother who's like way younger, but for the longest it was just me and my sisters, and I never ever got the inkling that my dad was like, I wish I had a son, I wish I had a son. Never got that. I played basketball, my other sister played volleyball, my other sister played soccer. Like my dad was always there wanting to assistant coach or drop us off. Like my mom was always there, she took us to swim lessons, we did swim, tennis, we did all the sports. We helped clean the pool, we learned how to mow the lawn, we learned how to check the oil. Like nothing about my anatomy makes it harder to teach me sports or anything like that, you know? So I never got that idea, and I can't imagine if I was to go and dig through my files and see a gender reveal where my dad was sitting like this when he finds out it's a girl. You know, like that's just unnecessary. So I think, if anything, if you're gonna do these gender reveals, don't record or post their reactions if they're not overwhelmingly excited. Because you can see the difference when, in the gender reveals, when the guy's like, all right, yes, having a girl, or like doing a fucking hoedown, cartwheeling through the room, sprinting off to China because it's a boy. You know, you can see the difference in that energy, and it just kind of, I feel like that is just going to be a precursor to how your attitude is towards your kid. Maybe, you know, comment below if you really think I'm out of control with this thought process, but I really feel like this idea that having a boy is more fun, easier, I've heard it, I hear it like literally every week. Oh, I'm having a girl, like I've heard they're harder. Like, there's a post I just saw on Facebook that said, of course you think raising boys is easier, you know? Where your girl, your daughter, she can't date until she's 17, she has a curfew, she has chores, you gotta make sure she does this, she does that, right? So she's a good daughter. But your son, yeah, come back safe, just don't end up in jail. Oh, you got yourself a little girlfriend when you're 5 years old, you know, and oh, you know, we're not really worried about if you have emotional maturity, just go play that sport and stop crying, you know? pick yourself up. I don't care if it hurts, you know? We kind of deprive them of that emotional maturity, those rules, those young days when you implement self-control, willpower. Girls have to have self-control. I'm not allowed to go out. I'm not allowed to date. So even if I want to, I can't. Boys, I'm doing whatever I want. I'm doing whatever I want. Then that's translating into you're raising the kind of son that you're afraid your daughter might meet. So you guys have to keep this in mind, like, why are we so afraid to have daughters, right? Because it's like, oh, we gotta have to beat the boys away with the baseball bat. Oh, she's not dating until she's dead. Why are you so worried about her meeting other men? If it was so easy to raise these guys, shouldn't they be great? Shouldn't they be treating your daughters with such respect that you're happy to see them out and about? There's a really weird dichotomy going on where men are celebrated for being out there, having girls, whatever. Doesn't matter how they treat them as long as they have girls, right? But girls have to be protected and sheltered from these awful men. Who's raising these awful men? You know what I mean? Who's raising these men that you're afraid that your daughter might meet? All the ones that are saying, yes, having a boy is so easy, right? Because you're not investing in their mental maturity. You're not investing in making sure that they are respectful. Because if you're doing that, then raising a boy is not easy. Especially in this very visual world, raising a boy, raising a son is not easy. Treating them to not womanize, to not objectify, when all we see in the media is women's body parts, can't even breastfeed. Raising a son the right way is not easy. So I'm really sick of hearing that. And I get, like, a brother wants a little brother, or a sister wants a little sister. But I just still think that these images of, like, oh, the little son crying at the gender reveal because he wanted a brother, and oh, it's gonna be a girl. I just feel like that just sets this weird tone, and you have to console them. Oh, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay that you're having a sister. Like, why is a girl, why is somebody who has my anatomical parts, why does other people have to be consoled, you know, that I'm coming into the world? Yeah, maybe I'm taking it a little deep, but I mean, gender reveal parties weren't even a big thing until 2010. So growing up, I never even considered that a thing, and I've been to one. I remember I went to one for like the sweetest couple, and we had to wear the color that we thought the baby was gonna be. So I showed up really, really late, wearing pink, like literally this shade of pink, and literally as soon as I walked to the gates, people were like, fuck out of here, no, like screaming at me, like literally cussing at me, like saying fuck out of here, because they'd already done it and it was a boy. My question to you is, why is the excitement not there for having girls? Is it because we're more difficult? Is it because you recognize internally that our lives are harder? If so, what are you doing to make lives a little bit better? I've even heard women say, I don't really want to have girls because our lives are harder. It's facts. It's facts only. But what can we do as people? Because girls are going to continue to be born, unfortunately, for those of you who just want to watch sports with your kid and never talk about emotions. But I just feel like we need to make the world a better place for girls and boys, because boys who are just being raised easy and being kind of neglected, they're ending up making decisions they regret, because our parents are kicking back saying, oh, he'll learn, he'll come home when he comes home. But then when he gets into big trouble, you wonder what happened. Oh, you weren't checking him along the way like you were checking your daughter. You weren't checking him and making sure he was acting respectful, being respectful towards women, being nonviolent, being a good communicator, following the laws. Let me say this again. I'm really fine with people being happy about having a kid. That is the great first step. I'm just so glad that people are excited that they're bringing a new kid into the world, and there's definitely so many other ways we can celebrate it. Okay, so I've already kind of mentioned my issue with the gender reveal. I feel like it's a symptom, and the excitement levels are a symptom of kind of like the structure of patriarchy and how we feel like a son is more important. Like, first of all, I have a whole thing with the sons carrying last name. That's a topic for another video. I don't really believe in like changing your last name unless you truly, truly want to, but not just because everyone does it. But I feel like there's a few things we can do with our money besides hosting a gender reveal for everybody that would maybe be a little bit more beneficial for society, for the kid. We need to understand the difference between sex and gender. Sex is the anatomical detail of the fetus, right? Is it a male, is it a female? Point blank, period. Gender is a social construct. It varies throughout time, varies throughout cultures, varies throughout countries, varies throughout even ethnicities of our idea of what makes a man, what makes a woman. That's a social construct. So what you're doing is placing these social constructs on this fetus who hasn't even had a chance to pick their favorite color. And you've already picked what color they're supposed to associate with, you know? It's very stereotypical, and I just think it does a disservice to the progress we're having of trying to be more open and letting kids be themselves. Of course, everyone has their own views of parenting, but I just think labeling them as a gender so early, they're not even fully formed in the womb, is pretty detrimental. So first and foremost, before you have a gender reveal, realize you're not revealing their gender, you're revealing their sex. And it's just a microscopic aspect of who the whole entire person is, their soul, their likes, their dislikes, who they end up loving, you know, all that things. Is just, being a boy or girl is just one part of this person that you're bringing into the world, right? So that's number one. Romper.com had a couple more good things we can do instead of having gender reveals. They said, why don't we use that money and take a parenting class? Wow, mind-blowing. People think that they're like born knowing how to be a parent. Absolutely not. Think about the things that your parents did and screwed you up, okay? Use that money to take a parenting class. You'll save some money, and you'll be doing your kid actual benefit. You're saying, you know, hey, I'm weak in these areas. Maybe it's communication. Maybe it's, you know, my anger. Maybe it's, I'm not sure how to discipline. Do we spank? Do we do timeout? How do we get our kids to listen? Because that's something that's a huge problem with my generation, is listening, active listening. I'm not an expert though, but I think that that's a great suggestion, is why don't we take a parenting class? And if you have extra money, throw a bomb baby shower. Like, just have the craziest baby shower. But, you know, let's just start moving away from this gender reveal trend. I love the love and I love the happiness and joy, but I definitely think it's just kind of a little bit off. One of my thoughts was, what about having a pre-baby vacation? Just somewhere close by, the same cost that you would spend on hosting people to shoot powder in the air, or, you know, drive a motorcycle and let the smoke come out, whatever people are doing nowadays. A pre-baby vacation, like, this might be this is your last few months without this kid, and of course they're gonna bring joy and love, but like, embrace that quiet, embrace that alone time, get to know your partner, because a lot of partnerships and marriages struggle after a baby's born. The attention is divided and it's weird and it's different. So soak up those last moments together and really like talk about, how are we gonna divide the attention and how are we gonna make sure that we stay strong when this baby's here? I just think that that's something fun. I personally am an advocate for travel over anything, travel over parties any day. So yeah, that's another idea we could do instead of gender reveals. So with that being said, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I mean, there's definitely more on the topics of, you know, toxic masculinity and the patriarchy and what gender reveals really mean to people who are non-binary and they don't identify. At this point, I feel like we can just stick to baby showers and just being happy if our baby's just healthy, you know, and just have a healthy baby party. When you have a healthy baby party where if you find out from the doctor that you're low risk of anything, we freaking just eat cake. My baby's gonna be healthy, you know? Like, that's something that not everybody gets. So those are my thoughts on that. Please comment below, because I know I said some things that kind of go against mainstream beliefs, but I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Thanks.